Good evening, everyone. Just going to be doing part two today of the ACL series. So, a couple of weeks ago, I spoke about, I guess, an ACL and the factors involved, whether you have surgery or you don't have surgery. Today, what I'm going to speak about is going down the route of not having surgery and living without an ACL, and you can definitely do that for a certain number of sports such as linear running, playing sports like golf, cross-country skiing if that's your cup of tea. But if you want to do pivoting sports such as soccer, basketball, and footy, that increases your risk of having meniscal damage, which are the two little C-shaped discs that sit within your knee to stabilize and give cushion. So if you have an ACL injury, definitely get it consulted by an orthopedic surgeon first to see what your options are and what your avenues are. If getting rehab and the process of rehab is too long, then definitely just going conservative without surgery is going to be a lot quicker and better for you as well long term, depending on what kind of sport you want to get back to. So in terms of going down the route of non-operative or conservative management, it's based on a few steps. So the first step is what we do in the first 2 weeks, and that's really trying to calm down swelling, trying to get that joint moving and as freely as possible. So it's going to feel super tight if you've got an ACL injury. So trying to get that joint moving as smoothly as possible and trying to normalize your walking pattern again. You almost kind of forget how to walk, which sounds pretty trivial, but it's crazy when you have an injury. You just almost forget how to walk. So just trying to make sure we're retraining walking in your gait again. And we spend the first couple of weeks really trying to hone that in, and then we progress onto the next stage of rehab, which is strengthening. Strengthening is broken down obviously into earlier strengthening, trying to get your quads firing again. So when you have an ACL injury, there's a ton of swelling. The swelling kind of seeps in between the muscles and you start to have a lot of muscle wastage. So we need to get some of those muscle groups firing again, the main one being your quads. So we start off with really basic exercises, trying to get those quads firing again, and then we move on to exercises such as squatting and lunging and deadlifts, really trying to do these big gross movements to really strengthen up all your big movers. With squatting, there's two different types of squats you could do with rehab as well. So we do things like back squats, which probably target your glutes more and not so much the quads, and then you do a front squat that targets your quads more and less so the glutes. So you can really use different types of exercise, and that's what we do to try and strengthen up and really get a really nice gross strength of the muscles in and around the knee. Main purpose being is we want the muscle strength to be symmetrical to the other side, because you're going to have to use more of your muscular stability to get you through, because you're not going to have an ACL anymore. Once you progress through just general early strengthening, then you move to more advanced stuff like your balance, your control, trying to get your mind to control and track the knee properly, so that your knees and doing something and your mind's wanting to do another thing altogether. So we spend a lot of time trying to hone that in. It's what we call neuromuscular control. So trying to get you to focus and think about the exercise and the movement and the muscle you're trying to activate. And once you go through this phase, you now move on to into a more of an advanced strengthening phase, which is more sport-specific movements, more jumping, and trying to get back into running and things like that. How long does this process take? I've kind of really summarized it all really quickly and made it sound like a quick process, but it's really dependent on the individual and how much effort you put into your rehab. So as a rough time frame, that first early stage of rehab, of trying to get the swelling down and trying to get that joint moving, can be between 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the individual, depending on how much you respect the knee and how much you work on it. Strengthening pretty much starts from the second week and goes up until 3 to 4 months in terms of really trying to hone in and get a lot of that strength in. Hey Dan, welcome to the live. So strengthening is always going to be an ongoing battle in terms of how you're going to continue to build on, but really focusing on your strength work from the second week all the way up until the 4th month. That's really trying to get all the base strength in place. Once you've got your base strength in place, you've got some really good comparable values in terms of your ACL, the knee without the ACL and the other knee. They both kind of look the same. Then you start moving to more sport-specific activities. So something like running after an ACL and not having one will probably take somewhere between 4 to 6 months, depending on the individual, depending on your exercise history before you hurt you and injured your ACL as well. So it's not time dependent. It's criteria dependent. It's very much based on individuals. Strengthening is a massive component of it. So the main take home from this is you can live without an ACL. You can get back to a certain level of sport without an ACL, so long as it's not pivoting. You're gonna have less likely a chance to injure other structures within your knee joint. But it's a lot of hard work that goes with it as well. So it's not just rest, let it settle down, and you can get back to running or get back to playing golf. You got to rehab it, and you got to train all the muscles in your knee to start taking over the role of what the ACL was doing, and they're gonna have to work a bit harder and understand what needs to be done as well. So if you guys have any comments, drop a comment below. If you have a specific comment about strengthening exercises working on control and stability of the knee, and more so, in terms of running and how you get back to running without having an ACL. All these things are definitely possibilities and realities. And what we're finding with long-term studies and long-term patients is that if you live without an ACL, your chances of osteoarthritis don't increase much more than the person who's had an ACL reconstruction, so long as you're not putting your knee into the environment of playing something like soccer or football, which requires an ACL for stability. So leave a comment below. I will get back to you with an answer ASAP. I hope you guys have a great night, and hope you guys had a great hump day. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll catch you guys next week. See you guys.